Hi, everybody. This is The Beat at Comic-Con San Diego, and we're here to talk with Bishal Dutta.
Bishal Dutta.
Bishal, sorry.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bishal Dutta.
And we're here to talk about his new movie, It Lives Inside. So let's go to the movie. Can you tell us something about what it covers and just everything about the movie?
Absolutely. It Lives Inside is a teen horror film about a Indian American teenager who's going to school in America, and she unwittingly unleashes a demonic curse on herself, and then must re-embrace her heritage in order to defeat it.
And let's talk about the movie itself. I mean, it's very atmospheric. It opens up with just kind of shadows and images, but there's also a huge creep factor right off the screen. Can you talk about what went into that process, how you designed that, and just some of the influences that went into that?
I can start by talking about influences. For me, certainly, there were certain films that I saw when I was younger, like Insidious or The Conjuring or Paranormal Activity, that were such great communal horror experiences in a movie theater. And I wanted to recreate that feeling for today's audience, but do so in kind of a way that was authentic to my upbringing. And in terms of atmosphere, so much of that, I think, for me, comes from this feeling of wanting to give the audience as much as possible, and while also not overdoing it. And you see that in the way that we approach the creature. We very much take the Jaws and Alien approach with it, where we keep it in the shadows, we keep it hidden. So to me, atmosphere, so much of it comes from the visual choices that are made in the film. I worked with my longtime director of photography, Matthew Lynn, on this movie to really create those shadows that you were talking about and commit to them as really inky pools of darkness that you can't see into. I think this all goes back to filmmakers like John Carpenter, who were drawing your eye across the frame and making you wonder, is there something hiding in there? So I wanted to really take that world in and create those shadows, create those out of focus areas where it felt like something could be hiding.
So which comic books influenced how you developed this picture, if I can ask?
Certainly. I loved comics growing up, and I really was drawn to the very graphic, high contrast style of things like, for me, for example, the Alan Moore stuff would just felt so very much hardline lighting, and that was a lot of where my instincts come from on cinematography. And I think that's something that Matt, the DP, and I really agree on, was we wanted to create very intense sort of depictions of the key side and the fill side. We wanted very harsh light in some cases on, let's say, the key side, and very little on the fill side. So for me, in that sense, comic books really influenced what I wanted to create in terms of singular images that could be panels. We have a shot that I really love in the film where we're directly overhead on a street, and a young girl's shadow comes into the frame and takes up the entire frame, and the camera starts following her. So those were things that I drew out at the beginning, because I had started a lot of my kind of visual practice as an artist. I drew a lot, and so those kinds of images for me really come from the comic book world.
Wonderful. And now that we're at Comic-Con, what have you seen around that has interested you the most?
You know, it's my very first Comic-Con, and I have to tell you, I'm so overwhelmed by all that I have seen. Today was really the first day that I've gotten to explore, and being on the floor, I mean, first of all, just the breadth of artistry is unbelievable. I mean, I'm seeing stuff that I'm looking at and going, this is some of the best stuff I've seen in my life, and going to the next panel and the next booth and seeing something even better. You know, so I think what's really exciting about being at a place like Comic-Con is just being surrounded by people who are passionate about the art and passionate about sharing it. Just generally that feeling that makes me excited to make more movies and tell more stories.
And so what types of books have you seen that you would like to go back to and look at this Comic-Con?
There was a wonderful section of the within the floor that was Indian comics. This was lovely for me because I grew up. I was born in India, and I grew up reading a lot of those Indian comics that ultimately were transcriptions of our mythological texts into visual images. And so that really took me back at that booth to see some of these vintage comic books, and then some of the newer ones as well that are covering a lot of our kind of mythology. So one of the things I'm going to be doing as soon as this is over is going back and buying some and reading them, because to me, again, so much of what movies are when they are at their most powerful is contained in comic books.
Wonderful. And when does the movie come out?
The movie comes out on September 22nd in America. It will be released theatrically, and I hope that you and everybody watching this go see it then.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you.
And this is The Beat, and thanks to our sponsors, Mad Cave and Global Comics.